So people not from Los Angeles think we're having a moment. I would be saying we're having a decade. Okay. So let's point out a couple facts. First of all, it's 19 million people in greater Los Angeles. We're the second largest city in America. So people shouldn't be surprised that LA is going to have some amount of prowess in creating tech startups. The things that people don't readily know about Los Angeles, we graduate more engineers than anywhere else in the country. Greater LA has more top 25 engineering universities than anywhere else in the country. Los Angeles is the place that designed rockets that put a man on the moon. We had the aerospace and defense sector. 43% of every product that arrives in America arrives from Long Beach Port or Los Angeles Port. And so really we're this hub to Asia, which we know is part of the global ecosystem and rising, and LA is an important part of that. We're the northern hub for Mexico and Latin America, which we know is an important trading partner. And in a way, we're the best Western hub for the United States. So we're perfectly situated. And what's happened is, over the last 10 years, it used to be in Silicon Valley, you built all the tech firms because it was building infrastructure, routers and switches and databases and caching and all this stuff, right? But if you look at the history of building rail or building airports or building seaports, the value gets attributed to what sits on top of that infrastructure. And that's where LA is really shining, because we've got commerce and trade. And now that the infrastructure is built, you're seeing big businesses. I mean, it's no surprise that people like Dollar Shave Club were built in Los Angeles. It's no surprise that people like GOAT, who build a marketplace for sneakerheads, are built in Los Angeles, because we understand trade and commerce.
Okay, and what areas are you seeing the most growth in terms of tech-enabled companies that you invest in?
So Los Angeles is the third largest venture-backed ecosystem in the country. It is.
I bet most people do not know that.
Most people don't know that. It is the third largest. It's the fastest growing in the United States, and it's projected to overtake, sorry to say so, New York in the next 5 years. So
how many unicorns have there been in LA?
Well,
unicorn
is a really dumb term.
Okay.
So unicorn, what the fuck does unicorn even mean? Unicorn is a false term that says a company has more than $1 billion valuation.
Yes.
In a market where artificial valuations are being pumped up by investors coming in and marking a company at $1 billion, then calling it a unicorn, like, I reject the notion of that.
Okay,
Let's talk about serious stuff, okay?
Yeah.
SpaceX.
Yes.
Is in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Did you know that it's the largest employer of tech jobs for a private company in all of LA? Everyone outside of LA wants to talk about Snapchat. There are 4,000 people now at SpaceX that are designing rockets, putting man into space, or, sorry, not man, putting payload into space, eventually man in Mars.
And what about Tesla?
Elon Musk lives in LA. He doesn't live in Silicon Valley. Like, Silicon Valley for me is...
When I read his biography, it was like surprising to hear that they used to meet at this Renaissance hotel that you drive by outside LAX, because you forget that that's the hub or traditional hub of the defense industry and the aerospace industry.
Exactly right. I'm glad you know that. Very few people do that. But if you think about Howard Hughes, Los Angeles, if you think Northrop Grumman, Los Angeles, if you think, there's just like, we've had this great renaissance lately over the last decade, but the truth is we've had aerospace, defense, rocket, propulsion, hard sciences, robotics. We have Caltech, UCLA, USC, Harvey Mudd, all the Cal Poly schools, all in our backyard. So it's no surprise that you're seeing hard sciences done in LA, in addition to what people want to talk about, which is Snapchat. And we're delighted to have Snapchat. If you look at what Silicon Valley is doing right now, what are they doing? Consumer. They're all copying Snapchat. Think about it. This company that people like to pick on, that's now, whatever it is, $15 billion plus company 5 years ago barely existed, has been the innovator in the entire country in user experience and design. And Silicon Valley is now copying Snap.
Right. Well, okay, so all these facts that you just rattled off, how does that inform the companies that you're investing in, or what kind of opportunities are you seeing?
So you mentioned we're the largest investor in Los Angeles. Each of our funds is about $400 million. In the last 5 years, we've raised north of $1 billion. We put 40% of that into LA, 40%. So it's meaningful. We write more checks into Los Angeles at higher values than anybody else. But we're a national practice. We do a lot of our investing in Silicon Valley and a lot of our investing in New York. But let's talk about LA a little bit, because I think that's one of the things you want to know. You asked me about big companies. One of our big investment themes is computer vision. How do you take cameras, lasers, infrared, microphones, and interpret the physical world in new ways. So we backed a young company when it was at its seed stage called Ring. Have you heard of Ring?
Ring, yeah.
Security doorbells?
Yes, of course.
So we were the seed investor in that. We did the C round, we did the A round, we did the B round, we did the C round, we did the E round, right? Like D round, E round. That company's enormous. It's now the leader in these security doorbell and security products. So they're creating cameras around the house.
Right.
Now they're launching an in-home security product to compete with ADT. So you're talking about a 30 billion plus market built in Los Angeles, right? So we are looking at people who are disrupting and changing the way industries work. That's just one example.
Are they going to go public?
I think they almost certainly will go public. The question is timing. But they're now at a size and scale, I mean, in the hundreds of millions of dollars that they actually, I think, will be in a good position to go public when they choose to.
Okay, what is the big theme for 2018?
What is the big theme in general or for us?
Well, that you're seeing and that stokes the most interest for you guys.
So let me tell you the trouble with the venture capital industry. The venture capital industry works like lemmings, all chasing each other.
Well, that's investing in general.
That's probably true, right? But I'll tell you the themes in our industry of which they're not where the future necessarily is going. As you know, everybody wants to talk about cryptocurrency.
Yeah. These guys off camera, all they talk about is Coinbase and
yeah. Well, Coinbase is a great company, but
right, but talk about trading on Coinbase.
A lot of people are going to lose money. Way more people are going to lose money than make money in crypto.
It's the internet. I think it's 1997 and the internet.
It's exactly
all over again,
right. Or real estate in 2006 and 7, right? It is. Real estate itself is not a bad investment. Real estate is not going away. The same is true of crypto.
Right.
But we've gotten way over our skis in terms of valuation. No one even understands it. I mean, people understand it, but the market at large that's investing, they don't know what they're investing in. Their momentum, because it's going like this.
Right.
We better keep investing,
quick.
right? So, it's the greater fool theory. Right? Like I'll invest because I know I can get out to a greater fool in 4 months. But so that's one big area. And so you hear people talk about blockchain, you hear them talk about crypto, you hear them talk about ICOs. The truth is blockchain is very interesting technology, but it's not going to solve the world's problems, right? It's a very specific type of database, and there are many types of databases. It just happens to be buzzworthy. The second thing everybody's talking about is machine learning and AI.
Right.
And so nobody can get through a pitch. If you have 25 slides in a deck, you have to say machine learning 12 times by slide 4 or you feel like you failed, right? And it's just nauseating. Machine learning's real. AI's real. It's changing the way things are going to be done. I'll just give you one example, okay? So a company comes in and they're applying machine learning to writing articles. And so I read these articles on this new restaurant opened on the west side of LA by this star chef who used to work at this restaurant, now works at this restaurant. And you read the article and you're like, wow, that sounds like a great place.
AI.
Generated by a computer. And they just know the signals of what to include in an article. And then they look at what people read and how much they consume it and do they click. And they perfect the algorithm so the articles get better. This is one example. Second example, AI meets robotics. I just saw a pitch this week. So we were early investors in Starbucks, by the way. Prior to our fund, my partners funded Starbucks when it was a startup. We just saw a pitch for a company that has a robotic arm that can make cappuccino, espresso, macchiato, mochas. And so you go up to this kiosk, you swipe a card, you place your order, and this arm just goes and does it all. So we're talking about how automation is going to drive truckers out of business. Automation is going to drive Starbucks baristas out of business. I mean, it's profound what's coming in 10 years. Third,
don't we have coffee machines already that kind of do that?
Yeah.
Why do you need an arm?
If you want to have a cappuccino made with ground coffee at the moment that's precisely made as opposed to, like I have
more artisan.
I have an espresso at home and it's beautiful and it produces great coffee. It's not the same as going to a real Italian cafeteria.
And pulling that espresso.
Yeah,
right.
and so that's going to, both markets exist, right? The third big theme that everyone's talking about is AR and VR. Again, it's like buzzword bingo. You can't present to me unless you say AR and VR at least 12 times in the first 4 slides. And there is real profound changes coming to society from virtual reality. Bill Gates famously said that markets overestimate the impact of technology on a 3-year time frame, but underestimate the impact of technology on a 10-year time frame. That's VR. VR is going to change everything of human interaction. I don't know if it's 10 years or 15 years, but fundamentally...
But in the meantime, AR will become so commonplace that I think when VR is ready, people will
but they're two different things. They're two different things. VR, as you know, is like an immersive experience, and AR is bringing like almost holograms into video and making them three-dimensional. They're different markets, but they're both important markets, but they're going to take time.
Everyone, that was Mark Suster, general partner of Upfront Ventures, with our own Peter Gorenstein.